Boba is banned, Coach. What's going on, everybody? My name is Jay. This is Unplayable, and me and Mike just got done watching the Fantasy Flight Games live stream where they announced Boba Fett collecting the bounties is banned in Premier Play. That's competitive, locals, PQs, worlds, everything. Banned.
Suspended,
yeah.
Jay.
My bad. Yeah, because there's the reason they're going with the term suspension is because, as they announced it in the thing, it's at the start of every set, they're going to evaluate and see if anything needs to be added to the suspended list or brought back off the suspended list. So theoretically, there's a world that in the future that Boba Fett can get off of the suspension list. Now, in my opinion, I think he's just broken. Boba Fett ain't never coming off that suspension list.
Yeah.
So when these Boba Fett showcases drop in price, go ahead and pick them up for your twin sons decks.
Yeah, I to talk about that real quick, I don't see a world where that particular showcase card is not still the chase showcase of set one. So if they diff a bunch, I might pick some up myself. So we'll
yeah,
see.
I mean, it looks really good. He's an iconic character. Even if he's not playing in Premiere, I think he'll still probably be one of the most expensive in set one.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't think it's necessarily bad for the second market. And like you said, if it does dip, grab them because I don't think they're going to stay dipped. Now, does it feel bad as someone who owns a showcase that this gets banned? That's a whole different question.
I don't feel too bad about it myself. I feel like, card still holds some value, but we will find out. I'm more worried about the reprint than the ban in terms of showcase prices, but we're here to talk about the decision to suspend Boba Fett from competitive play. Jay, what do you think? What do you think that this was a good decision? You think this was good timing? I know I've got some thoughts, but I want to hear yours.
I would much rather have them suspend something. I think the suspension list, I think that's totally valid. I think that's a cool way to do it. And because say, for example, rotation ever happens, whatever that looks like, and there's a set one card that gets reprinted in set 8, they can take it off the suspension list because of whatever cards, whatever sets are, rotated out, and now it's legal again with a reprint because whatever leader it was broken with is gone or whatever. So I think that's totally valid. I think that's a fine way to do it. I do not like erratas in games. I think erratas and restricted lists are messy. So in my opinion, I'm glad that they just outright removed it from existence rather than changing his stats, changing his ability, changing his flip number, whatever. Yeah. What about you, Coach? If
you come from other FFG games, you might be used to that kind of thing. But if you're coming in from other games, you're coming in from Magic, you're coming in from Pokemon, you're coming in from whatever, like it's very difficult to enter a game as a new player and have this whole list of things that you gotta remember not to put these cards in a deck together because the gods that control the how the game works say that you can't. So it's definitely messy, definitely hard for new players to sort of get over that hump. Like I remember playing the Star Wars LCG, and they must have had like a 2-page long restricted list, and it was just such a pain having to go back and forth and remember everything that was like you couldn't put this card with this card and these things together, and it was super messy. I love the way that they're doing it now, where it's just okay, you can't play this card. I also like that it's just a leader because, I mean, showcase aside, like everybody has Boba Fett. It's not a card that people have paid $60 for or whatever, unless you're buying the showcase again. But that's more of a collector thing than a player thing anyway.
Right.
So I think this is a super clean way to do it. I really like the idea. I mean, like, if we want to get into like the nitty gritty of like, should other cards have been suspended or banned rather than Boba Fett? I think that the two of us both agree that like Boba Fett was the problem.
Yeah, and they mentioned that in the live stream. They discussed why not ban supporting cards, Fett's Fire Spray, Boba's Armor, whatever broken cards that support Boba Fett. And they said, they they evaluated all options, and they came to the conclusion that none of those supporting cards were the problem. The problem was Boba Fett. Boba Fett was too strong, and it's exasperated because he was a leader. So they went with the decision of just suspending Boba Fett instead of suspending any of these other cards, which I'm here for.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on our podcast before, but it feels like the game design itself is so tightly balanced that even a few points of health or attack or extra resources here and there add up a ton. And so little tiny efficiencies on particular cards like Boba Fett manifest in massive ways that you just really can't do anything about other than getting rid of him, because anybody who plays this game can look at Boba Fett and say, okay, this is literally just straight up on the numbers more efficient than every single other leader that flips at the same cost. So
and there's a reason that you see so many of these mid-rangey leaders that flip at 5-6 that have the same stats, like 3-6, 2-7, like those are the same stats. So a 4-7 was just obviously stronger than all of those.
And gaining extra resources not only every turn, but on his flip turn, gaining even more extra resources is just like icing on the cake. And they mentioned early on, I think it was maybe Jeremy Zorn that mentioned this, but like Boba was intentionally pushed for whatever reason. It seems like he was maybe pushed a little too far. So
yeah, hey, sometimes that happens. What I do appreciate though is their confidence coming out the gate. Set 3 is launching, and they're like, this dude is way too good. So why wait? Why do we need to wait and see if set 3 shakes things up? We can do that in internal playtesting. Like if they want to do internal playtesting on set 3 against, the meta Boba deck, they could have spent the last 3 weeks doing that and saw, set 3 doesn't really change anything. Boba's still incredibly strong. Sure. So yeah, we don't know what they did behind the scenes. They could have done that kind of testing and decided, it's time to get them out of here. Let's shake up the meta for set 3 to be a lot more interesting than what it would be if Boba continued.
Yeah, my first reaction to like the timing is I wish that they'd given set 3 like at least a couple weeks of time to sort of shake out before banning a card. Like, does set 3 really do anything to crush Boba? Probably not, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about like doing it now before you give the larger player base a chance to like test stuff against it, because doing as much internal testing as you want leads us into a scenario where you print Boba as is anyway. So they might be wrong.
That's fair.
Like there's no substitute for thousands and thousands of people playing and finding the things that are broken. And,
I think it does come with the premise though that they're going to be doing these evaluations at the start of every set. So it might not be one of those things that like they didn't want to let set 3 come in and see what happens, because they wouldn't do a suspended until set 4 drops.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
This is just the process they're implementing, and it's just how it works. Which I respect it. So.
Yep. So, what do you think this does for the meta? Do you think that this changes everything?
Yes.
Or do you think Sabine is just gonna run rampant?
I do think Sabine is probably gonna run rampant. So my theory on this game for a long time has been that like aggro is generally favored as an archetype because of the resource mechanic and the like drawing 2 cards every turn. And so the cheap leaders that can get away with just resourcing to 5 or 6 and then stopping and then not gassing out, there's a big benefit to that. So that's like I think that without a strong mid-range leader deck to stop those aggro decks from taking over, I think we might be in an aggro meta. But
do you not think there's any other good mid-range strong decks?
Yeah, there might be. There probably are, but they're nowhere near as strong as Boba was, right? Like,
right, for sure. Ray Red, I haven't played a lot. I didn't play a lot towards the end of set 2, so I don't know. Like, the power level of some of this stuff. Ray Red seemed to be doing pretty good, so maybe it's able to outpace Sabine with all the healing and stuff. I don't know. I think Cad Bane has a chance to come in and shine a little bit here. Cad Bane was kind of a good deck, but it was one of those things. It's like, why would you play it when you can play Boba?
Yeah.
So maybe he gets a shot here. Same with Django. Like all of these
Ventress
yellow
is more
villains.
playable now, so I'm happy about that.
Ventress is definitely more playable now. That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good change. I'm excited to not see Boba all the time, everywhere, winning everything. Like nobody wants a meta where the same two leaders are dominating the top tables for 3 sets. We'll see what happens with Sabine. That I think is like the outstanding question is like, does Sabine just take over? What I'm excited to see though, it felt like leaders that flipped on 6 specifically were, I don't know, super underutilized. Probably because Bobo is a 6 flip leader that flips on 5. So it's like, why would you play anything that flips on 6 when Boba basically should flip on 6, but he flips on 5? So I really hope that like removing him from the game allows more of those leaders to show up, like Ray, like Cad Bane. There's a bunch of leaders in
both
set
of the
3
Hans
that flip on 6. Yeah, both of the Hans. I mean, Maul even, like he flips on 6. He's pretty sweet. So that's my hope. I know that no matter what happens, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm stoked to see how this shakes out, and I'm glad that they feel the confidence that they can do something like this, and the way they did it. Yeah, we could have waited a little bit to see what set 3 brought to us, but overall, I think I'm pretty satisfied with how they handled doing this.
Same.
In my opinion,
I think the community in general is probably pretty happy about it as well. So let us know in the comments what you think.
Yes.
Should they have banned anything else, or is Boba enough? What do you think the meta is going to look like? Super curious to hear your thoughts.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. We hope you enjoyed this one and have fun gaming without Boba. Bye.
Bye.